I had an intern, one of my first interns at my little company, the Radiophonic Lab, who basically got into sound thinking Foley was it. That was the end all. That's how all sounds were done. I think, Foley is so visual a medium, and it's been covered in the media as this wonderful way of recording and creating sound effects that a lot of people think that that's how it's all done. When people ask you what you do, let's go around the room, and what do you tell them? And if they, a lot of people, when I say that I'm in sound, they say, oh, you do Foley. And that's that same kind of thinking that's what we do to make sound effects for films. And it's a very important part, of course. But let's talk about some of your experiences talking to other people and trying to explain the craft to each other. Let's go the opposite way this time. Alyson, what do you think?
I simply say that I recreate sound for television shows, feature films, video games, and then I sort of go into an explanation of that I do recreate those sounds in sync with the picture. And then I describe a Foley stage that I work on a large stage, well, not so large anymore, but a stage that has surfaces of concrete and different kinds of wood and dirt. And if someone's running on screen, and then I find myself like pretending I'm doing Foley. If someone's on screen running in tennis shoes on cement, then I will have on tennis shoes and run. So that's
Yeah.
sort of my. I feel like I almost pantomime it.
I actually find that most people think that what we do is kind of what everybody does in post sound. They're like, oh, you're doing, oh, that's cool. That is the job. I'm like, actually, I'm just this one person part of a bigger crew. So
that's the big, yeah, that's exactly why I'm asking all of you, because that seems to be the consensus for a lot of people. I mean, times are changing now. The media and the educational aspects of what we do is getting out there through DVD commentaries and things like that. People are aware of what we do more than ever before, I think, really. But yeah, I'm just curious what all of your experiences are with that. Vanessa, I mean, you wrote the book literally.
Yeah, well, yeah, I just finished the third edition and they're having me select a cover for it. And it's going to be different than the other covers. So I'm kind of excited because it's going to have male Foley and female Foley artists on the cover. Because I've been teaching it and writing about it now for, oh my God, 12 years. No, 15 years.
Yeah, it's longer than that.
A long time. I started in 2006 teaching it. I always say, well, in when we make movies, there's sound effects that are done afterwards. What we do is post-production sound. Mm-hmm. And my piece of it has been the footsteps, cloth, and props for the actors and the characters in the film. That's traditionally what I do. So if you remember seeing people run for someone in a movie or doing any props or anything, that's what a Foley artist is. And they go, oh, yeah, yeah. But that's only one piece, as Ronni said, one piece of the entire thing that happens with sound, starting with production sound and going to the end with the mix and the print master. Sometimes they will ask for more detail, especially in classes or if they're interviewing me or if they know that I've been writing about it. But I have to say something interesting about this. Mm-hmm. Because I've been talking to and writing about people doing this. And of course, Alyson was in a short film that I made with some students, which I'm going to re-edit because I now own it into the longer film. So that's going to be nice because it was all about women in sound. And
it's a great short.
Yeah, it is. But I've got so much material. And I'm going to re-edit it now that I own it and I'm not working with the students because that was something they did in one semester. We worked on it one semester. It was really fun with Alyson. What I really focus on now is trying to get people to understand the culture of it and the people in it and the roles of various people in sound and why Foley is specific and different. Because as I think both Alyson and Ronni alluded to, often people who don't know much about sound think that sound effects is one thing. They think it's a monolithic thing. And of course it's not. There are all these little pieces. And so then I will probably bore everybody by explaining dialogue editing and sound editing and background editing and ADR and dialogue editing and how this all mixes in, because then I just start getting pedantic and people fall asleep. But my perspective has changed a lot because I'm so focused on all of sound now, writing about all of sound and interviewing people. And I'm going to add one more thing and then I'm going to shut up for a while.
So
I am really focused now on the role of women. So I more and more have been focused on how women have been invisible, even though they're quite present.
Mm-hmm.
So that's becoming a cause for me. And I talk about that a lot.
But I want to get from each of you just really quickly what advice you would give a young woman entering this business, and any advice, any wisdom you would give them coming in and looking for a career in what you're doing. Let's go around the room. Vanessa, you want to start?
Well, now that I trained a female Foley artist. Alyson and I both had her when she was just beginning, and then she ended up working with me as a partner for a while until she went off to work with someone else, a man. And I remember a lot of the things that I said to her about how to approach working on feature. But I think now what I think about, and to be an assertive woman in the business, but I think what I think about now is when I'm working with students and I'm teaching a Foley class or an ADR class, because I teach that too, I always try to get the women to do the things that they're not used to them being told to do. And it's amazing how they will just jump right in, because this younger generation isn't as caught up in it, even if there is some sexism or some assumptions that they're not as qualified or not as good or whatever, the white heterosexual male hegemonic culture really needs to believe of us. But one of the things that I've noticed when I was working at Ball State is the two students I had who were absolutely best at sound were women. One of them had been an amazing production sound person and did some editing, and the other worked with me in several shows and ended up doing a lot of really good editorial work in sound. So I think modeling it, being the female that does it, is something that needs to happen more, which is why I think it's very important to make all of the women more visible. So I'm going to be doing that until I'm dead, but which could be any day now. But I think it's really important that the more you see people like you, people of color say that, oh, that person looks like me. Well, I would say it's really important for young women to see young women. And when I interviewed the women in New York who did production sound, editing, post-production sound, and Foley, Rachel Chauncey, they all said kind of the same thing, that by doing it and showing it, you attract more women thinking they can do it.
That's great. Absolutely. Ronni?
I think that finding all the support where you can, that's what I would tell every young person trying to kind of come, especially young women, really be aware of those who are going to take advantage of our inherently hardworking nature. I don't know very many women who I work with who are not incredibly hardworking, and that they don't phone it in and they don't just rest on their last show and go, that's fine, I'm fine, I don't need to do anything. They're all incredibly driven. Find all the driven women, find every woman you can get into contact with and contact them. I can't tell you how many women have gone in contact with Leslie Ann Jones and she's gotten them into Skywalker. This is how it's done. This is how we are constantly looking out for one another, and also believing in your sounds, not just saying oh, let this guy tell you that your sounds aren't good enough. I had plenty of people tell me that I couldn't walk heavy men's feet, and then I did, and I keep doing it, and it's fine, and it sounds great, and it's better than the men at my work. So it is what it is. So really, truly not second guessing. It's inherent in women that we have imposter syndrome. We don't feel like we belong in the room because there's always more men than women. I mean, we are seeing more. The Mulan crew and the mixed stage, I think, was literally one man on the entire stage. So it's happening. It's just we need to continually be a kind of aggressive and standing up for ourselves and pushing ourselves forward.
That's great. Alyson.
I really encourage anybody really getting in just to be quiet and know when to ask questions and when not to ask questions. I think it's easier these days for women now because of what everything that's happened. And so I don't worry as much for young women coming in, not being able to have a voice if something happens and something inappropriate happens on the stage. But I do encourage them to also seek out not just other women, but I'll give them a list of people, or I'll call someone and say, would you mind talking to her? People I trust and that I know don't have any issues with working with women, because there still are a lot of men out there that do have those issues, and I still see that to this day, that they're not comfortable um, you know having a woman be the lead, or um, they tend to talk to the men in the room, and sometimes that's just how it's going to be. But yeah, I think it's just learning and absorbing everything, and just be people want to be around nice people, and people want to be around people that they like to work with. So
Absolutely.